There's so much that humans have discovered. And yet, something is missing.
29% adults likelihood of being diagnosed with depression. That's 1 in 3 of us.
It's an alarming suicide trend.
A 30% increase in murders nationwide.
How is it we understand so much about physics, biology, psychology, and sociology, yet we understand so little about how humans are supposed to live?
Teaches you the actual
Self-improvement. It's come a long way since Dale Carnegie wrote How to Win Friends and Influence People. Not that that's the very beginning, but that's certainly one of the classics. Today, we know way more about how the human brain works and about how the human body works. We also know way more about how human behavior works. But we have to remember that over the course of human history, all of this is fairly recent. A few centuries back in the science renaissance, there was unrealized hope of understanding nature. From Nicholas Copernicus to Francis Bacon, humans saw huge advancements in understanding the physical world. From the 16th century to the 18th century, it seemed like the natural world's secrets burst open, allowing humans to look in and see what it was made of. There were astronomical discoveries, medical discoveries, methodological discoveries, and many more. With society's newly gained understanding of the human body, we could now help people with sicknesses actually get better. That is, we learned to alter the otherwise fatal course of many human lives. But medical discoveries weren't the only way humans learned to manipulate the natural order. We also had an explosion of new inventions over the course of 3 or 4 centuries. A group of scientists would discover something new, engineers would construct new technology, then people would use it and the world would forever be changed. Discoveries were also made in psychological science. Yes, we seem to have metrics to describe and measure almost every human behavior. Such knowledge of the human has paved the way for an individual to hack their own psyche and optimize their individual performance. Whether it's medical advancements, technological advancements, human psychology advancements, it's hard to imagine any part of a human's life that we can't optimize for peak performance today. We have drugs to address medical conditions, we have therapy to exercise a human's weak areas, we have dietary supplements that can aid a person's nutrition. Today, our society is teeming with optimizations for biological human functioning. But there seems to be one glaring problem.
Begin tonight with new data showing violent crime has increased in San Diego.
Suicides are rising.
As a society, we know more about humans than we ever knew before, but somehow, things still seem broken. History continually repeats itself. At least it sounds very similar over and over again. Technological advancements bring a huge amount of comfort and capabilities in society. But it seems when society gets bored, society starts to implode. Addiction rates are high, suicide rates are high, and long-term family relationships many people don't even try for. It's like much of society is hopeless. Our desire in the early days of the scientific renaissance was, in some way, to control nature. Well, we can sort of do that now. And in the process of doing that, we sank so deep into the technicalities of how nature works. All we can see is the mechanics of nature around us. Nothing is magical anymore. Nothing is mystical. The way sickness traveled from one person to another was once an opaque mystery, but has now become transparent and understandable. The new scientific understanding of the world, by removing the mystery of all things biological, has kind of flattened the world to the level of atoms and molecules, when the only thing out there is the physical matter around us, and we learn to master it. What else is there to do? A 2002 study showed the proportion of treated individuals who used antidepressant medications increased from 37.3% to 74.5% from 1987 to 1997. So that was the 90s. What about today? Well, another study published in 2023 stated that between 1999 and 2018, the percentage of mental health care utilizers in the US adult population increased from 7% to 11.3%. And this data is from before 2020. If you've been keeping track at all lately, there are more people in therapy than maybe there ever have been before. And one of the things that therapy does is it gives a person the ability to express themselves verbally. It allows them to put into words exactly what it is that's bothering them. Personally, I found it immensely helpful to write down whatever it is that's in my brain. It releases out of my mind the things that are bottled up there. It allows me to sort of let the steam off. Now, there are two extremes people can have when it comes to responding to the vulnerable emotions and feelings that a person has. One extreme is the extremely rough and tough love. Feelings aren't a thing, so just ignore them. Then the other extreme is the soft and mushy, tell me how you felt when mommy made you eat your broccoli at age 3. Maybe that's why you're so unstable. You get the idea. Perhaps the key is to plot the two extremes and perhaps be right there in the middle. Before we get too far down that train of thought, I want to look at this from a different angle. Most young people, and old people for that matter, are spending an outrageous amount of time connected to the internet viewing the behavioral extremes of the whole world all of the time. Is it possible that there's just too much data flowing into the human brain? Maybe the human mind wasn't built to withstand this much pressure. In addition to the large data amounts being used, there's extreme data being pumped in, both extreme in the positive ways and extreme in the negative ways. The most exaggerated parts of the world are now being shown to every teenager that has a smartphone. Surely the interconnectedness, pumping both positive and negative data in mass amounts into the human brain, is causing it to hit some kind of human threshold. So what do? Get rid of our devices? Unfortunately, there's just no serious way to operate in the modern world without the internet. Our societies are being built around it. In an afternoon, we may be 20 miles away from our house and still be expected to communicate dinner plans. Over business trips, we might need to contact a coworker whose flight is delayed. You can't just use a payphone to do that. Many of us are part of a remote workforce and would have to leave our jobs if we disconnected. Not only that, but we'd also basically be leaving our entire extended family if we disconnected. No, the internet is needed. We have to keep it around. Smartphones are still needed. This is the society we live in. There's no getting around that at this point. We just need to solve this problem. What's bizarre to me is that we came up with the printing press, the heliocentric model of the solar system, the light bulb, the internet. We understand viruses and photosynthesis, but we can't solve this problem of human stagnation unless all of the therapy, medications, and rituals have been the wrong approach entirely. This is a big societal and personal problem to solve. Maybe the question how is the wrong question. We understand photosynthesis, that is, we know the how of photosynthesis. But do we know the why? Why do plants convert sunlight into energy? Sure, at a molecular level, maybe we know why one thing causes another thing, but do we know why at a purpose level? Flowers have a way of speaking. They can say, "I'm thirsty," by drooping down and withering up. I can understand that language and give the flower what it's asking for. Flowers can speak. We can explain where birds come from, eggs. But have we ever asked why round, smooth rocks magically change into flying creatures? It may as well be magic. We've used magic ourselves to mimic these flying creatures. But the most complex and highly functioning biological creature there is, us humans, are full of this divinely orchestrated magic. Humans are not only amazing creatures in and of themselves, but they can also marvel at and seek to understand everything around them. We can marvel at the seedling becoming a plant. We can respond when a flower asks for water. We can feel amazement when a round white rock breaks open and a tiny flying creature hobbles out. But more than that, we can understand why. This world is so full of magic, it's hard not to imagine a magician. A magician who loves adding flair and details into his tricks. One who loves baffling us for a few millennia before drawing back the curtain so we can take a peek inside and try to mimic him. Why did he make all this stuff? As the Catechism says, for his glory. But the people are still messed up. How does the why fix the world? Well, it's fixed by returning to that magician who designed it all in the first place. The magician who showed us the magic never intended for us to become obsessed with it. He intended for all of it to be for his glory. When we stop looking to the physical world to fix our problems and start looking to the maker of it, we'll actually have peace and get to enjoy the show. For many things, the how has become clear for us to see, but we must constantly return to the why, because we often forget the why.